If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I have always said that when it comes to violence, some of the best information comes from the worst parts of society. You know that I've interviewed members of the Aryan Brotherhood, Mexican Mafia, the Gambino family. I did Sammy the Bull, and you've heard the information that they give. Well, today's going to be a variation on that. Today, we're going to have a very controversial figure. I saw this clip, and I laughed to myself, and I said, do I really want to use it? But he actually makes a very good point. And so it's the challenge. The challenge is, can you ignore the messenger and still get great information from the message? You tell me. I'm going to go ahead and play this, and then I'll talk about it after.
I don't valet my car at the restaurant anymore because they're running scams. If you're sitting at the restaurant for 2 hours, they basically go into your car, park your car, pull up your GPS, find out where your home is, send 2 guys over there, ransack your place while you're at dinner. And when you're leaving, they're calling saying, hey, get out of there. They're coming home. It isn't safe anymore.
So, I got nothing really to say about that. It's great information. I know a lot of people that have started to do that. Valet parking actually has been a real problem in a lot of the cities. And scams like that, exactly what he's talking about, especially if you're somebody that, has, means or a nicer car or something like that, you have to be aware of it. But the messenger, he's a controversial figure. I would say it's 50-50 on him. 50% of people love him, 50% of the people hate him. And when I saw that, I don't really have history with him, but I know a lot of people in his circles. I know some of the stories that people are concerned about, people that he's worked with. But then I have to ask myself, hey, this is succinct, and it was really good information. And I've seen this with other people. I've had people, other people who are, controversial, and they'll talk about how they've had to adjust since COVID. They've had to adjust wearing things. I worked for a very, very wealthy family in South America years ago. They easily could have had their own private jets. They could have, flown first class everywhere if they wanted to, and they could have wore way more ostentatious jewelry and clothing than they chose to when they traveled. But all the children were traveling in economy. They dressed down, and they wore just regular digital watches and stuff like that. Why? Because the threat for violence was real with their family. Kidnapping was a real thing. And they had to think exactly like Grant Cardone was talking about when you're going to park a nice car at a high-end restaurant. So again, does this apply just to the high-end restaurants? No, guys. This is something that you have to think about. Every time you give your car over to a valet, the possibility of a third party getting into your car and extracting information, especially if you have a smart interaction electronic system, a lot of the new heads-up display stereos, it stores a lot of your personal information. And as he said, they can go right to your home, get in there, boom, while you're there, and get back, get to your car before the end of dinner. So again, good information, but the challenge, the real reason I gave this to you is, can you hear the message and ignore the messenger? That's the challenge when we're looking at trying to get the best information about our self-protection. Sometimes it comes from sources we really wish we didn't have to listen to. The most important thing is that you get the right information, because nothing is more expensive than the wrong information. And I have to give it to Mr. Cardone. Today, he gave us the right information.